Hey guys, this is Harry. Today I'm talking about the dreaded P word. Pornography has become incredibly commonplace and accessible in our society. Pornhub, one of the largest adult sites in the world, reported over 39 billion searches and 42 billion visits during 2019, suggesting 115 million views per day. In fact, research has even shown that 50% of all internet activity is related to sex. In the US alone, research suggests 66% of men and 41% of women consume pornography on a monthly basis. And what happens to the common person when some form of stimulus that is so extreme on the happiness scale and so enjoyable becomes incredibly easy to consume? Many get addicted, and the statistics reflect this. Of course, some of you may indulge and think you don't have a problem, and maybe you're right. Only you know if it's become something harmful to your life. But even if we aren't addicted, porn has a negative effect. It has been scientifically proven to reduce the amount of grey matter in certain areas of the brain for everyone that watches it. Regardless of whether you're addicted, pornography literally reduces the volume of brain matter. More on this later on in the video. First, the psychology of it. Just logically, you can reach the conclusion that such an incredibly strong, unnatural stimulus can't be good for you. It literally breaks the scale of pleasure. Think of the other things in our world that give us extreme peak levels of joy, which are other forms of instant gratification. This comes down to only a few things: drugs, fast food, and sex. Pornography is one of these. Regular people you see on the street just don't look attractive anymore. You start getting into stranger and stranger niches. What was stimulating last year just doesn't do it for you this year. You have 20 different tabs open just because you get bored of the same material too quickly. You're bored, so you consume. You feel a little sad, so you consume. Any real issue affecting your life, you consume. It's an easy way out. Maybe you have brain fog, tiredness, fatigue, lack of motivation. Maybe you just don't feel like doing anything. What I'm saying might be ringing bells with some of you guys, and pornography could play a big part in all of this. Some claim that pornography is not an addiction, which is something that is discussed at length in their best-selling book, The No-Fap Bible, Your Brain on Porn. I'm going to be discussing its contents and some of the scientific studies it cites about porn and success. To sum it up for you without the jargon, MRIs have shown that porn has an effect on the brain like many other harmful addictive behaviors. As the saying goes, if it talks, walks, and looks like a duck, then it is a duck. I.e., if porn fulfills all the requirements to be classified as an addiction, then it simply is one. Forums like NoFap, consisting of those who are trying to refrain from masturbation, have hundreds of thousands of members. Many men are trying to rid themselves of this addiction, and for good reason. The Chinese equivalents have even reached millions of members. Let me explain and provide evidence to show the huge part pornography plays in your productivity, success, and your overall brain health. We've all heard that quote, "I do what you won't today so that I can do what you can't tomorrow." In other words, I delay gratification today so that I can work and reap the benefits of that work tomorrow. We do this by foregoing smaller rewards today for bigger rewards later on. Work instead of play. Invest instead of spend. Eat a salad instead of a burger. Delaying gratification is one of the keys to having some form of success. In 2015, researchers gave participants a questionnaire on their frequency of pornography use and made them take a test which judged their ability to delay gratification. They found a correlation suggesting the greater the amount of porn use reported by the participant, the worse their ability to delay gratification. In the second part of the study, they divided the porn users into two groups. Half were to abstain from their favorite food, and half were to abstain from porn itself. The porn abstainers scored better on their ability to delay gratification than the food abstainers. This suggests that abstaining from porn has a unique beneficial effect on our ability to delay gratification than abstaining from other natural pleasures, such as food. Hence, porn use is linked strongly to impulsiveness. It is exacerbating your lack of ability to think long-term and pushing you to reach for instant gratification over long-term success. In 2016, a researcher, frustrated by the lack of scientific evidence, actually conducted his own study using the participants of the Reddit group NoFap. He sent out a user survey to those abstaining. The same questions were asked 1 month apart to see how the participants' preferences changed after the 1 month period of abstinence. The results are pretty astounding to look at. Participants were more able to delay rewards, judged from a test, backing up the 2015 study I discussed previously. They were also much more willing to take risks, and interestingly, also more willing to punish if others are treated unfairly. This signals greater altruistic tendencies, i.e., you care more for other people. In terms of personality traits, people become less neurotic, more extroverted, and more conscientious. This suggests porn has a major effect on our personalities as well. Now, concentration is another one. Those who reboot commonly report that they have better concentration, no more brain fog, clearer thinking, and improved memory. Take this anecdote from a Redditor who said, "When I was using internet porn, I had brain fog or a constant hungover-like feeling, which made it hard for me to concentrate, talk to people, or just do my everyday tasks. After 7 to 10 days without porn, this feeling went away. My mind became very clear, thoughts easily controllable, and I became much more relaxed in general." The anecdotal evidence is there, and even though these personal accounts aren't scientific in their nature, we can't ignore them. The book itself says, the anecdotal evidence is in the thousands. We can't just dismiss these, and I completely agree. Still, you may be skeptical. Luckily, there is also scientific proof. Porn has been associated with concentration problems, working memory interference, poor executive function, and reduced academic performance. One anecdote says this: "For those of you who are at uni, NoFap is a miracle for the brain. Before I used to have to force myself to concentrate in class and would still end up zoning out. Now I can concentrate in a 3-hour lecture with almost no issues." This study found a significant negative association between pornography viewed per week and grey matter volume in the right caudate of the brain. Interestingly, this applied to addicts and non-addicts who only dabbled in porn. The importance of the right caudate is not to be understated. One study found a correlation between the volume of the right caudate and performance in memory competitions. The caudate nucleus is also reported to function not only in planning the execution of movement, but also in learning, memory, reward, motivation, emotion, and romantic interaction. All paths and all the evidence leads to the conclusion that reduced grey matter is a serious issue, and porn reduces the volume of it in the brain. Desensitization is another common issue for porn users. 6 neurological studies so far report desensitization or habituation in porn users and sex addicts. Evidence of desensitization has been found in even moderate porn users. Before I start, let me explain a few things. Dopamine is the chemical that urges you to seek pleasure. Opioids are the actual chemicals released that give you pleasure. As you get exposed to more and more of the same stimuli, less dopamine and less opioids are released. The more often you watch it, the less good it feels. This is why you constantly feel the need to build to more and more extreme forms of pornography to satisfy that craving. The novelty of new and extreme porn boosts dopamine and becomes more enjoyable to watch, but it's a vicious cycle. That eventually gets boring, so you move on to more extreme pornography and more unrealistic fantasies to get the same hit. The worst part of desensitization is that it doesn't just apply to porn. Your responsiveness to all forms of pleasure decline as you become less sensitive to external stimuli. Music may not sound as good. You may get bored quickly when watching a movie. Food may not give you the same buzz. You become indifferent to the simple pleasures of life. Psychological issues are also associated with a decline in dopamine signaling. You have decreased risk-taking, increased anxiety, and inability to focus, which can account for concentration and memory problems. It also leads to a lack of motivation, which can lead to procrastination and contribute to depression. It's a cruel circle where the immediate solution, porn, to the immediate problem, wanting a dopamine kick, only makes the long-term problem, which is desensitization, much, much worse. The prefrontal cortex is an area of the brain that gives us executive control. It supplies problem-solving, planning, foreseeing consequences, and the regulation of goal-directed behavior. It governs willpower and inhibits behaviors we might later regret. It has 2 pathways, the one that tells us to go get it, and one that tells us to hold up. If the amygdala, the animalistic, emotional part of the brain, tells us to punch a teacher in the face for setting too much homework, then the good, rational pathway kicks in by computing the consequences, thinking, and inhibiting this irrational behavior. With addiction, the increasingly powerful go-get-it pathways increase your cravings to use porn, while the hold-up pathways are much worse at inhibiting your drive to watch it. The go-get-it pathway gets stronger, and the hold-up pathway gets much weaker. Your ability to think critically and make decisions to reach your goals, plan, and not act on your impulse weakens. You make the wrong decisions by thinking emotionally and conduct behavior you might later regret. In fact, there are now 13 studies reporting altered prefrontal circuitry or poorer executive functioning in porn users and sex addicts. There are a huge number of physical effects as well, all of which are covered by scientific studies. We can't go through everything in one video, so I'll cover this in a future video. Sub to the channel so you don't miss it. It ranges all the way from depression, ED in young men, an inability to orgasm, and the weakening of pair bonds between couples, just to name a few. Like vitamin D, the effects of porn are also ignored to a large extent. Anyway, I hope you guys found this useful. This was Harry. Thanks for watching.